Welcome back. Today we're going to cover how to tie a tie. Angling the camera down a little bit so you get a better view, but you're going to start by popping the collar, getting that button all the way up to the top, and the starting length of this side is going to depend on how tall you are. So I'm a little bit taller. I'm going about 3 buttons down for the starting point. Here's your most basic knot. The long thick end goes over the top, up and around the front, loop it over the back, and then you're going to poke a hole right here with that loop that you did around the front and just pull the tie through. And you want to snug it up a little bit on both sides. Just try to get a relatively even knot. You can play with this more to get it more perfect, but then you can snug it directly up to your neck by holding this back and then just sliding the knot upwards. Take the excess length. You've got a little loop right here. It's just going to go directly into there, and then that'll hide it out of the way, and you are ready to go. Put your collar down, make sure you're not sticking out anywhere, and if you have buttons here, you can do those at this point. As far as tie length is concerned, this is pretty much ideal. You want the tip of it to barely be touching your belt buckle. So if you're a little bit lower, that's fine. If you're a little bit higher, that's fine. Any higher or any lower than that, it's gonna look a little bit weird. So that is the most basic knot, and you can tell it's pretty simple, but as a result of that, it's a little bit limited. This isn't like a nice thick triangle. It's not perfectly symmetric from one side to the other. On a more thin tie, this is probably fine, and you're gonna have a nice tight knot, but let's try something a little bit more advanced. This is a Windsor knot, and it is pretty much the only other knot that you will ever need. We'll start off by shifting this up. We're gonna use more of this length. Again, this is gonna depend on your height. Because I'm relatively tall, I'm only going to about the second button. We're gonna go over, and rather than go around the front, we're gonna go straight through the back, wrap it on that side, then around to the other side behind the back, wrap it over the front, and then back towards that same side. So back down over here. And you can see we've already got a bit of this triangle shape going. Now that we have the triangle, we're going to go around the front, up, over the back, just like before. And it's going to be the same thing. You're going to poke a little hole here on the front from that front loop, and the tie is going to go down through it. If you're not careful, you might accidentally fold the tie over a little bit. And that's not a big deal. Just work that out with your fingers. Then you can go back to having it the right orientation. Now you got to pull a little bit more to try to work this one because there are more loops to it. But as you do, you'll notice that this is a much broader knot and it gives you a lot more symmetry left to right. So now that my collar is folded down, you can see this knot is a lot more symmetric left to right. It's got a much bolder, full shape to it. That is going to look a lot better for photos, and if you're doing something that's a more formal event, I would recommend doing this. It just looks a lot more professional and a lot more complete than doing that simple one-time wraparound. Length is going to be the same thing as before. You want it to ideally go just to the top of the belt buckle. This one is a little bit long. You're going to have to play around with how low that one side hangs when you're starting it to get a proper finish length. Your two options to change this length: you can either retie the whole knot but start with that one leg being further down or higher up, depending on if it's too long or too short. Or option two is you can slowly undo this knot a little bit and then slowly work the material backwards into the neck wrap, so that way you don't have to completely retie this. Now, something else to note about this is because we're using more of the tie length, this does not reach all the way down to here. This is where you might need a tie clip to hold that piece in place so it's not flopping around in your photos throughout the night. So those are probably the only two techniques you'll ever need for tying a tie. So hopefully this helps you out. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.